Remember these from the last part of this video. I've been trying to keep them wet until I can get back out here to this. I've been building sunscreens for my studio windows because it gets so hot in here. And the windows that I get light from, which are that way, are facing west. And boy, somebody cut a tree down over there on the other property, and it really made a difference on this side. So anyway, I'm trying to figure out what I can do, like a patio cover or something, to make things better on this side. So let me make a little circle there on this and see if I can get this. I'm just doing a little circle with my wet finger so that I can sort of gauge where I want to put this. Much better. Not so aggressive, going a little slower. I've been running all morning, and not running, but running around trying to take care of errands before it gets too hot to even be outside. Today promises to be probably triple digits. If not, it'll feel like it because of the humidity. We have humidity. Okay. Now I've got clay underneath this thing from about here up. I could throw a little bowl type knob on this. Is this the one that's going to go to the... So maybe I better try to go for a little knob on top, since it's going to go to one. I think I made it to go to one of those little canisters. So, and we may add a little bit of clay up here too. So I'm going to try to get under some of this clay that's on top here so I can get a little knob. I think I will be adding some clay to that because I don't think it's tall enough. Wonder if... Well, I haven't actually tried it on the pot to see if it'll fit, but it's probably too wet and hadn't shrunk enough to really be able to tell yet. That's gonna be cute. Okay. Okay, I'm going to grab a piece of clay, one piece of clay that's not the same wetness as the other piece. We need to do, this is very wet, and right out of the bag that is, and this is not. So we're going to put a little water on that sticky, scratchy place. And put a little water here. And we're just going to stick it on there. And then we kind of mash it in and ta-da! Okay, where's my sponge? So just like it was a piece of clay all by itself on the wheel, we need to get it sort of stuck to the, just like we would stick this to the wheel if we didn't have the lid underneath it, we're going to stick this to the other part of the lid. You know, it's really hard to talk sometimes while you're concentrating on this, so if I go quiet once in a while, don't worry. I haven't passed out or anything. I'm just focused. Sometimes it's hard to focus. Sometimes it's hard not to focus. It's hard to focus on two things at the same time. Now, since I've got a solid piece here, piece of clay right there, what can I do to keep that from cracking? Because if I leave it like that, I will have to come in from the bottom and drill a hole all the way up to within a ½ an inch of the top, just to give it the ability to dry out without cracking. So, or I could throw this so that I open up this little top part and make it hollow. So let's see if I can do that without ruining the whole thing. So I've opened it up quite a bit. I may still have to drill a little bit of a hole in there. So then I'll just throw this just like it was. May end up with a larger little bulb on the top, but that's okay. It's kind of cool. A little bohemian style thing. So I'm just compressing that just to make sure my clay is, that both pieces of clay are stuck really well. So we don't want any cracking on that. So I'm going to thin this out just a bit. You know, a lot of times you can leave a knob just like that because it's easy to grab hold of, and sometimes it's useful to have something there in the top where you can just put some. My grandmother used to take medicine that she would have to split the little pill, and we were always having to be careful on the kitchen counter because we didn't want to wipe the other half of her pill off of the counter, you know, and put it down the drain or something. So sometimes a little container type thing or a little dish type shape on the top of a lid of something is a good place to just put some little thing that you want to keep track of. So I'm just closing this up by continuing to collar that in. Whee! And also remember that once you do something like this, you're going to have to put a hole in it because you're enclosing a little bubble of air right there, and as the clay shrinks, the air will have some place to go, and it can't get out of there unless you put a little hole in there. So you want to be sure to do that when you're letting it dry. I'm just going to take my rib and compress this a little bit on the top. You don't want water running down here so that your lid rim is sitting in water too. You got to be careful to just use only the amount of water you think you really have to have. Oops. Okay, so let's take a stick here. Now this is just decorative stuff I'm doing now. Just giving it some personality. And then go around here, just compress that edge. Come up underneath there. Okay, this is a little stick that's just kind of, it's not real square on the end, but it's almost square on the end. And it's gonna work for, I think it's gonna work. Well, it's gonna work, I'll be confident. I just wanna make that a little skinnier right there. Come away real slowly when you're doing stuff like that. Oh yeah, like that. And then we'll take that and do that. I'd kind of like for this to be a little smoother transition right here. So let me see if I can. Okay, yeah, I like that. It's a little more egg-shaped, round. It doesn't come up and have a little blip and then go back up. So I'm good with that. And so let's stop the wheel. You can always get rid of these little crumbs. Well, we can try to get rid of some of them now, but you can also wait until it's a little drier before you try to make any great big changes in it or to, but that was kind of messy looking. Okay, let's see what that looks like. No, that's better. Okay, so you can sponge that off after it dries and sets up quite a bit. Or you can put it back on the wheel before it's completely dry. Don't forget, we're going to put a little hole in this business right here. Bzzz. And then when I lift it up, I'm going to drill a hole up through the middle of it. You can patch that hole up after it dries if you don't like the way it looks. But there you have a lid. So be careful because it's still pretty wet and you don't want to change the shape of it until it gets dry. So I'm going to set it back down, just not going to stick it this time. And I'm going to let it dry right here on this bat. I'll just take the bat over to the shelf and let it dry. Okay, let me get set up and we'll do the other one, okay? Okay, we're going to take this one back out of the bag. Now this one is more hollow. There's less clay up here at the top on the inside than there was on the other one. So we're going to be careful on this one not to go through the top. And if we do, we'll be starting over. So I've got very little space. probably gonna add something to this. I've got quite a bit of, well, I don't know, I've got more clay out here to the side, but this one is really gonna be a dome shape. So let's find that. Maybe I can find that happy little place where that wants to go. And all right, so maybe I have it stuck enough on there, and I've gotten it sort of rounded, you know, right here in order to not knock it off center while I'm playing with it. I'm going to use my sponge, and boy, that is not centered, is it? But it's stuck, so I'm going to use my sponge and just try to smooth some of this stuff off. Whee! And this one too, this may be damp enough that I can throw something at the top of it. Stoneware isn't as plastic as porcelain. Porcelain will stick like this just really well. I find that it sticks a lot easier than stoneware does. But any of it will stick. It's just a matter of getting used to what your clay does, whatever kind of clay you're using. Got kind of a dip in there somewhere. It's hard to stay clean even if I'm not throwing pots. I just get dirty. I do stuff outside, in the yard and around the house, and it's just hard to stay clean. But if you were clean all the time, you'd probably be sitting still. Okay, so let's scratch it up a little, because I'm probably going to push that clay down the sides just a bit. Okay, mess that up. Put a little water on it. Dip. Whoop, we don't want the water running down the side. None of that. Get some here. Okay. Ba-doop. Get it stuck on there good. Little vibration there. I'll take it a good vibration. Get the water out from under there. Okay, let's see what we can do here. That water wants to run straight down that thing because it's very steep. So, gonna have to do this fast. Okay. Looks like a little bell or a little church steeple or something, doesn't it? I've got, this is gonna turn into a how to solve a problem kind of thing, or how to try to. I've got some uneven spots on this thing right in here, and my clay is a little too wet, a little too, I don't have enough room in there to do a whole lot about that. But what I can do is separate visually this area from everything else, and I'll get one of my, and do some kind of design in there, in that area, that is going to draw your attention away from the fact that it's uneven. So bear with me for a minute, and you might be able to, you know, remember this when sometime when you have this happen to yourself and you need to come up with some kind of cute little solution that you know, may work for you. I'm gonna put my funky design in there that I like to do so much. I'm gonna use something kind of not too pointed, because I don't want to cave it in too much, and if I cave it in, well, we've learned something unintended, huh? But let's see, let me find something here, maybe my chopstick, and then this one no, that's too pointed. And then we may end up doing something, where is the, we may end up doing something to it after it dries, because it is wetter than I thought. Probably should have waited a while. I love this little design. It covers a lot of little, you know, things. And that little space there was kind of blank looking, and since the lid is so tall, you really do need something in that area. And that really wasn't quite pointed enough, was it? Let me get something else here. Let's use this. I'm sort of hesitant to use something that's got a sharp corner on it, but it didn't dig into there as much as I thought it would. So I wanted lots of texture in there. Okay, now I might have gotten what I wanted. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, so what's going to happen is glaze is going to get in there, and it's probably going to run, and it'll probably run down, who knows. So then I'm going to take this little yellow gizmo with the ball on the end of it and make the little impressions like I do on my mugs. Woo, little dots. So there's a little dot, and let's put one right there. That's good. Well, that's a good size dot. Okay. And just randomly wherever you think it needs a dot. That's good. Here's another spot. I don't think my radio is trying to come on. Oh, I didn't turn it on. Isn't that weird? Let's make that one a little bit bigger. Okay. So now I hope you can see the texture on that. So then let's take, now this doesn't mean that every piece that anybody makes, or that I make even, is going to have decoration on it because it has a big mistake on it or something, but this is a good way to add something to it to make it look better than it did. I kind of like this now. I'm really, see, and that's the thing, is about mistakes. You know, if you take something that you think isn't working and you do something to make it better, or you think you're going to make it better because you've got nothing to lose. And so that's probably one of the reasons that sometimes those mistake things turn out to be better than the things you intended to do. So keep that in mind when you're saying, oh, I'm gonna just wad it up and put it back in the bag or back in the recycle or whatever. Sometimes take a chance and see. Now I'm gonna even take another chance here and try to put a spiral on the top of that. Sometimes I can't, I don't know when to quit, you know, and so I'm gonna start down here at this end and just work my way up to the top of that, and then come off of it gently. So there's some texture now on the very top, and it's a little spiral. And I could have gone from below and made the whole thing a big spiral, but I was afraid I would knock it off. So here's what it looks like from the top down, and then here's what it looks like on the sides. And we'll be seeing these again, you know, after they're bisque fired and glazed and all that. So this is not the time to try to clean up some of those little crumblies. Wait until this gets dry, and then you can take a sponge and soften some of those, and it'll be all right. So just let it dry on the bat and you'll be in good shape. And then we'll see which ones fit the little pot and which ones look the best. Okay? Okay, and just want to show you one other thing. I pulled this off center, and I was about to put it on the other bat with the other one to dry. But this is like a little something that might be helpful. If you leave it on the bat, sometimes it creates such a suction to dry, that is. It creates enough of a suction that your little rim underneath gets uneven because it maybe one side is towards the sun or the heat source or something, and dries at a different rate. So if you take it off center and set it on a piece of newspaper or a piece of telephone book, I prefer telephone book paper because it's thinner, and just let it, because you can see that this paper will shrink up with the clay, and so you'll have less distortion if you'll put it on something like that, and it'll help it dry too. And just a little tidbit.